Yeah, sounds good.
Finally. Not a great first impression for somebody who works in IT, am I right?
Hey, that's all right. That's what I said. Totally understandable.
All right, so my name's Gilberto Miralles Flores, or Gilberto Morala Flores. You want to pronounce it in that way? You guys can call me GJ for
DJ,
short.
GJ, did you say GJ?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I ain't no way I can remember the rest of it.
I'm the assistant director of Linux server at Kennesaw State University. Um, so I'm in charge of all of the fleet of Linux servers on campus.
Okay.
All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, I had to put on. It's hard to concentrate with the tiny speaker on my phone. Is everybody who's supposed to be on the call joined in already?
Yes, we're here.
I think
Except
we're
I
good.
don't know if was Dr. Lee supposed to join us or were we?
I think Dr. Lee was optional.
Okay.
He's sort of a facilitator at this point. So pretty much you guys are in charge, and I'm here to help with resources and direction and things like that.
Okay.
Most of the project-related questions, I'm sure you can direct them to Dr. Lee, and anything related to the scope of the project, deliverables, resources, things like that, or if you just have any questions in general,
Okay.
I might be able to try to answer them as best I can. So I'm sure everybody got a chance to read the short description that we submitted for the Capstone Project. So I'll try to kind of explain real quick what it is that we're looking for. So IT world, in our world, like I'm not on the networking team, but it has some involvement because the deliverable may include maybe Linux related. So in our world, when we monitor Wi-Fi on campus, there's a lot of things that we can do to tell whether or not Wi-Fi is on. Can we ping our routers and things like that? Is a process running, etc. But there's not a whole lot that we can do from the back end of things to know what the user experience is like. So we can't measure, what's the signal strength like at the student center right now. That's not something that is easy for us to figure out. So the idea behind this project and what we're trying to achieve is to have a distributed network of Raspberry Pis, say 3, 4, 5 of them in key areas around campus, and have them monitor and send back data so that we know what's the signal strength like, or what the download speeds are like, are things choked up, or what's the user experience like, what's it like for somebody who's sitting around at a particular point in campus with their laptop. Are they having a good experience or a bad experience? We can tell that Wi-Fi is on and working. We can't tell if somebody's having a fast internet connection, or if they can't reach a particular site or something like that. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at.
So kind of like having something like the Pi Zero, the cheap $20 device that's got Wi-Fi built in.
Yeah.
You have a script that's possibly running on that, sending back data like signal strength, link speed, I don't know, download speeds or something like that.
Right.
And
So
then maybe like a dashboard showing that data.
that's correct. So that's where you guys come in. It's up to you to figure out what's the best way to do it and how best to present it. I can give you an idea of some of the tools that we have on campus that you can interact with. Now, you won't be able to connect to any of them. I might be able to provide a resource like a server for you guys to bring up whatever dashboard or a tool you guys want. But some of the stuff that we run on campus, we run Splunk. We have a very kind of early stages of an ELK stack, if you're familiar with that. And then some monitoring solutions that we use, like, what's the Windows one called? Starts with an S. We use Nagios on the Linux side, but the Windows side, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, it's not important. It's Windows anyways. If I remember the name, I'll shoot it out to you guys. But yeah, those are some of the products that we use on campus. There are free editions of those things out there that you can spin up and try on your own. So if you want to connect to any of those existing, if you want to pull up and design your own, thing, that's fine too. We can roll with it. Of course, as long as it's documented, we understand how to use it. That's fine too. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to mention was resources. So I know you guys are all graduate students. Some of you may or may not have money to throw around, buy a bunch of Raspberry Pis, so that's where we come in. So I'm going to try to get some Raspberry Pis that you guys can use. That'll include the Pis themselves, SD cards, power supplies, that sort of thing, the whole shebang. And then the other thing that I can provide are server resources, so we can spin up a Linux server should you guys need to.
Sounds good.
So I don't know what else we needed to cover in the kickoff meeting. I think you guys have to come up with a project plan as a result of the kickoff meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
I believe so.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, I am in Technology Services building, end of the Kennesaw campus, in the corner where the student housing is. I'm there Tuesdays. Yes. And Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm in the Marietta campus, H building, first floor. So if you guys have any questions, you want to meet up and chat, I'm around. Email is the best place to reach me.
It'll be a little bit harder for me because I'm about 3 hours away or 2.5. So
I work just up in Ackworth, so if you need me to run down, I can. What days were you at the Kennesaw location?
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
okay, will you be available for a longer meeting? Maybe. I mean, now that we kind of have a gist of kind of the scope of what we're going to be doing,
Yeah.
We can get back with you. Mainly tonight, I was just wanting to kind of do an introduction, kind of meet everybody, because you said you had something at 9 o'clock. So,
no, that got actually that got canceled. So I'm good to stay a little bit longer if you have any other questions before you guys build your project plan.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, major questions for him?
Not right now. I think once we start putting together a plan, I think we'll have a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, because I mean, I got to wrap all this around my brain to figure out. All right, so what we're doing, we're spacing these Raspberry Pis out to pretty much send data. So, are you saying that there's something available on the Raspberry Pis that will send the data back and forth to a program that we'll have running on a server? Is that what you're saying?
So that's one way to do it. It's not my, it's not up to me to come up with something, and come up with a way for you guys to do it. But the general approach would be what you just described.
Okay.
There's a few different ways I could imagine doing that. Like
Yeah.
via Python and SSH send in a file or something, or like you mentioned Nagios, monitoring services from a server.
So one important thing to recognize with the having Raspberry Pis on because you're going to have to connect them to the Wi-Fi network, is that they're going to be on dynamic IPs, right? So we're not going to be able to know where these Pis are, what they're called, and what their IP addresses are. So we can't contact them; they have to contact us. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So they would have to be clients, and they would have to shoot all their data up to a central server of some kind.
I would imagine you could create a kind of like a baseline configuration for a Raspberry Pi and then just mirror that on multiple devices. Just copy it to SD cards and throw them out there.
Right. So that was going to be my suggestion as a deliverable for this project. It's going to be the actual Raspberry Pi image file. which will allow us to make copies of it, install it on a Raspberry Pi, and it'll be good to go, right? And the second thing, coupled with that, documentation, so we know when we boot it up what we're supposed to do to get it to work.
Right.
TJ, and which campus is this for? The Marietta or the Kennesaw, or both?
Possibly both. I suspect that we'll probably try it out in Kennesaw campus first and move it over to Marietta campus if that works great. So
essentially, let's say a repository that contains information on how we created our baseline, some documentation on how to set it up, as well as the image itself.
Right.
So now, some suggestions, because I know working with Raspberry Pis could be a little bit challenging because they're not a server. You can't really centrally locate one for all of you guys to work together. The most popular Raspberry Pi distribution is Raspbian, and it's based on Debian. So if you fire up a VirtualBox or anything like that with the current version of Debian, you're pretty much using the same OS. So you can use that to play around and try to figure things out.
Now, you had mentioned that you had there were certain areas that we were wanting to test out. Are you going to have an idea, or were you supposed to figure out what we think is going to be the best location, or are these going to be kind of a mobile? We're going to try it in this area one point, this area one point, and then go down to the Marietta campus, this area and that area. So on and so forth.
So we don't have we're so early in this thing that we haven't really decided where we're going to put them. We'll probably pick some of the more common places that students connect to. I know that one of the ones that my associate director mentioned was student housing. That's a big one. I'm assuming another one would be the student centers.
Right.
Possibly the libraries as well. But yeah, they're not intended to be they're not intended to be stationary, like we'll put it here, and then keep it there forever.
Right.
The idea is, if we think we don't have any problems there and everything seems to be good, we're just going to take that unit, move it somewhere else, and see what it's like.
You can kind of deploy it building by building, see if you got a problem, and then move on.
Right, and I don't know what how the networking team is going to use it, but the way that I would suggest would be, depending on where they get the most tickets for Wi-Fi problems, is where you would want to put it, get telemetry data from it.
Now, will we be able to get a data, some kind of readout or documentation of what they're getting? Like in this area, we've gotten this many tickets. This area, we're getting that many tickets. So we can kind of run an idea of where we would want to put it.
Yeah, I would have to ask them and find out.
Okay.
See what the most popular. I know that we see, at least, seeing the ticketing system, at a very high level, I can tell you that the student housing is probably the one that receives the most complaints.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That's where most people spend a lot of their time, when they're not in class.
Okay, so can I ask you a question real quick? All right, so you said that these devices are going to pick up dynamically, correct? Now, what kind of server DHCP are we issuing these devices? Is it possible to let them pick up dynamically and reserve the IP so we'll know what devices are what? Just kind of thinking, because the Raspberry stuff, I'm not really, I've never worked with the Raspberry Pi stuff, so I'm kind of clueless a little bit about that. So, but I'm more on the server side, so I'm kind of thinking, all right, so how are we going to identify these devices on the network? Because you were talking about that earlier.
I think that was part of what he was saying about having the Raspberry Pi communicate back to the server because they're going to have DHCP. But then you could identify them via MAC address if you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Wouldn't it be possible to just put them on a different VLAN, maybe not broadcasting the SSID just for these Raspberry Pis and to see their signal strength and everything else?
I'm not sure.
Or is that up to us?
That'd be up to the networking, I would imagine.
Yeah, that'll be up to you guys to decide. And of course, we'll provide it, and I'll probably be able to provide as much resources as I can to be able to try and figure out whatever solution you guys want to try and figure out.
Okay.
All right, got a lot to take in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So, are you guys going to be able to set up these Raspberry Pis for us, or we have to come and help out?
So I'm gonna be able to give you the pies and the SD card and all that stuff, but it'll be up to you to get the thing up and running.
So you are saying that we need to be on campus at some time, so we can set these up.
You don't necessarily need to be on campus. I mean, a Raspberry Pi is what you can get a Raspberry Zero for $20. It'll connect to Wi-Fi.
Okay. But we can work on the OS and the image and everything together on this. We don't again, it's probably going to be hard for me to drive all the way up to Kennesaw and work on a project, a couple of days or whatever. So, because number one, I got a full-time job and there's no way, maybe it's closer to the end of the project, we may have to go up to the campus. But we can do a lot of stuff remotely. But
if there's like any,
are we going to be able to?
If there's any scripting or anything involved, we can use GitHub. It's not really in-person type of deal.
And I guess maybe some of you guys that are closer to Kennesaw, maybe you can set one up and test it to make sure it's going to work correctly and it's going to pump out the data that we need before.
I'm like 15 minutes away, so it wouldn't be that hard.
I've got a collection of Raspberry Pis from my work from other things that we've done. So.
And I'm gonna try and provision enough pies so that everybody can have one in their own home for the duration of the project, and you can hook it up to your own home Wi-Fi and you can run tests like that. Now, I do recommend that you do. I didn't catch everybody's name. What he suggested on the screen right now, that you use GitHub and some sort of code sharing, suite, so that you can share, what your progress are. Maybe one of you can work on getting it connected to Wi-Fi in the first place. Somebody else can work on, deciding what data points to collect, etc., and and how to send it to, somebody can work on the server aspect of it, whatever dashboard or tool you're going to use. You can work on that part. Not everybody has to attack the same problem. You can, attack different problems.
Right.
Okay. Well, one more thing, real quick, while it's on my mind. What kind of data do you need besides wireless string, stuff like that?
Those are just the ones that come to mind. If you guys think of any other ones that are useful for this, determining how good or bad, a Wi-Fi network is from a client perspective, then, anything's fair game. Those are just the ones that I can think of.
I imagine we could pretty much send anything that the device will pull from wireless and then filter it at where you're displaying the data. It doesn't really make a difference what's being sent back.
No.
Okay. Well,
I think that's a good start.
Yeah, we're going to have to discuss this, pretty heavily and figure out, where we're going to put all these pieces together and kind of break up different parts, because I think we've got a good group as far as a vast knowledge of different things. So.
Yeah.
I think we'd be good.
Yeah. My recommendation, like I said, figure out who's going to attack what problem and find out what's the best way for everybody to work together to attack that problem. Because, like I said, everybody might be working on a different aspect of it. So, you're going to be working with your Pi at your house. Somebody's going to be working with their Pi at their house, and then you got to figure out a way to combine that effort and put it into one image, right?
Right.
And you can share that image back and forth to boot it up and run additional testing. So,
okay.
The biggest challenge at first is figuring out how you're going to split the work and then how you're going to collaborate together.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. All right, GJ, I guess we'll continue to meet if you want to jump off, if you need to.
All right. Yeah, I'm running out of battery on my phone, so I'll let you guys discuss. And like I said, I'm here at your disposal. I can ask you questions and give some advice. So,
all right.
Good luck, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. Well,
all right.
I guess let's just kind of introduce ourselves real quick. My name's Chris. Dr. Lee's put me in charge as project manager. I don't really know what I've bit off on this. I should have just checked the box no, But we'll I guess all the stuff that we've done has always been fake projects, stuff that we've come up with. But this, I guess, is something they're going to do on campus. So,
right.
Well, it's kind of sorry.
No, I was going to say, it sounds like there's something they're trying to roll out on themselves and trying to get us to, do the legwork on how to present it, which is great on our side as we get a real world experience.
Yeah, I was about to say it's kind of exciting to know that you could potentially develop something that they'll need and use and gain some sort of benefit from.
Right.
Well, I mean, the thing is I'm over the wireless stuff at where I work. I work for a school system, and we're always having issues where people are like, we're not getting enough wireless here, but I always go to our dashboard on our wireless stuff to find out all that information. So, but it's interesting. I've never worked with a Raspberry Pi. Andrew, sounds like you're going to be the.
Oh.
I mean, don't let me.
That's why I picked this.
Yeah, don't let me overstep. It sounds like you got a lot of coding background and
not a ton of coding. I just like messing around with Raspberry Pis.
Did I lose him?
Can you hear me?
Made him too excited.
That face, Lord have mercy, it just froze up on that face.
Yeah, right.
Got him too excited. But you're right, Chris. I think he'll be our focal point for everything, and maybe it will even be a good idea.
I guess my question is how are they going to get me a Raspberry Pi down here?
We'll figure it out.
Probably mail it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, really and trippy, y'all, I'm in LaGrange, Georgia.
Yeah.
So I'm about 40 minutes south of Atlanta, and so another hour, more than likely, to Kennesaw. So
I'm down that way a lot. Maybe we can meet you halfway.
Yeah.
Greg, do you have any